This program was brought to you by Organo Gold. Organo Gold is a health and wellness company that provides healthy coffees, teas, and chocolate. All one has to do is consume the available products to get all the available benefits. One can also share these products with others to help them improve their health as well. For more information, call 703-359-5642 or visit the website basillemba.com.
And now, Fairfax Breakfast Club with your host, Basil Lemba.
Welcome to the Fairfax Breakfast Club show. My name is Basil Lemba and I will be your host. The Fairfax Breakfast Club is a weekly program in which we bring to you valuable and workable know-how you can use to improve your networking skills and grow your business. Today in the studio we have a very special guest running a non-profit organization. Her name is Apoorva McIntosh. Hello Apoorva.
Hi Basil. How are you?
Good, how about you?
Good, doing good, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, so tell us about your foundation.
The foundation, the foundation, I formed it to help the survivors of domestic violence or abuse, physical or emotional abuse. The goal is to help the survivors. We go with why, how, and what. So
why, how, and
what?
What? Okay.
So we don't go and say, we don't pat on the shoulder and say, oh, you poor thing, bad things happen to you, abuse happened to you. But what we do is we help them see why the abuse happened to them, because everything has a reason to it. Nothing happens by accident.
Gotcha.
So there is a reason to abuse. So what we help them understand is why the abuse happened to them, how they can stop getting into the cycle of abuse one after another, and how they can recover from the trauma of abuse, and how they can have a better, happy life after the abuse.
Okay.
And then comes the what. What can they do? What can they do to stop the abuse or stop getting into an abusive relationship?
Okay.
Or what can they, so basically just help them realize and give them the tools to understand and stop abuse and live a better life.
Okay.
Now, how we help them understand how is, like I said, that everything has a reason to it. Abuse doesn't happen by accident. So according to the research and study that I have spent 4 years on, the abuse is sometimes cultural. So I'll give you an example of it. There's this gentleman who I was speaking to an attorney, and there's this gentleman from, I don't recall where from, and it was okay to punch his wife in the face where he is from, but when he is in America, he gets arrested for it, and he's flabbergasted. Why? Why would I get arrested for punching my wife? It's normal where I'm from. So he was absolutely clueless. So sometimes it's cultural. What's okay, what's acceptable, and people grow up understanding that. Then that's one aspect of abuse, and the other thing is hereditary.
What?
Hereditary.
Okay.
It goes from generation to generation to generation. It can go from great grandmother to daughter, and it just goes on until someone realizes that it needs to be stopped, and we show how to stop it. So, and the third aspect to how abuse happens is situational. someone can have an absolutely fantastic relationship, and all of a sudden the world just falls apart. Financial stress is one of them. So they lose a job, they lose a home, and there's so much stress. So all of a sudden, the tempers grow wings, and all kinds of words start coming up that they have no clue about what they're saying or doing, and boom, the violence comes into play. Gotcha. With so much stress. So there are three aspects to how the abuse happens, and then we go forward from that to help the survivors.
Okay. Very good. What got you to start this foundation?
Well, you have to read my book. I wrote this book. Why don't you just leave and
leaving? Who? When you say why don't you leave, who leave?
I know. Yeah. So
I guess both.
Exactly. So my publisher, Rocket Science Production, they released it about a week ago.
Oh, that's so brand new.
You can have this. This is your copy. And
I hope I won't
this
get abused.
can actually pretty much explain as to why I started LADV Foundation.
Okay.
Because I saw the need for it. There's what happens to the survivors of, I'm not saying just women, I'm talking about in general, men, women, and children, the survivors of domestic violence or violence or abuse in any form suffer from PTSD.
What is PTSD?
Post-traumatic
disorder?
Yes.
Okay.
And it has its own side effects. PTSD has its own side effects like anxiety, depression, addictions, and all kinds of aloofness and all kinds of things. So our goal is to help them recover as a person, claim themselves, their own identity, and heal from the PTSD or whatever they're suffering from that was caused by the abuse. They suffer from nightmares and whatnot. So I saw the need for it, and I met. First of all, I was in an abusive relationship. And it took me 4 years to do all the research and study to figure out exactly what happened, how the human mind works, what are the characteristics of those people who tend to abuse another human being. What are the characteristics and what one can watch out for? And what are the characteristics of a person who falls into an abusive relationship? So from my research and my personal understanding, it's not just, you obviously heard this phrase, it takes two to tango. So abuse also, it's really, they're a match made in heaven.
Oh,
because
heaven. Oh, wow.
Absolutely, or hell, or hell.
Okay.
But seriously, if you look at the backgrounds of as much research I've done on people and read the books, that people who tend to be abusive and people who tend to be the victims, they are absolutely,
one another.
Absolutely. The one is they become the victims are enablers, or
like magnet.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They have a reason, and that's why we go into the why, so they can understand why they were in an abusive relationship and why the abusers are the way they are. They both have a reason, and they both have this attraction. So it's like we just don't want to go and say, oh, you're the bad guy and you're a poor thing, but it's just kind of go into the entire picture of it. And yeah.
So how do you handle that?
How do I handle that? We actually teach in our seminars. We teach the communication skills, how to communicate with someone who is aggressive, someone who is difficult, because in most women I have met, they do have children in common with their ex-spouse.
Okay.
So once you have a child in common, you are bound to communicate. You have to communicate with
I think
each
even
other,
if you don't have a
unless
child, you
there's
still have to communicate, don't you?
Yeah, unless there's a protective order.
I guess what you're trying to say is that there is a kid involved, so maybe that's why they're staying.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess that's the primary reason, and it's
Exactly.
understandable. You know, you don't want to walk away when you have a child or children.
Exactly.
And I guess just something has to be done. Something effective has to be done.
True. And we also teach NLP, how to understand NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay, all right.
It helps people understand one another and deal with difficult situations and deal with the depression, addictions, and a whole gamut of things. So what we teach us with the primarily is the communication is the example I'll give you is with my ex. I have a 5-year-old, so we were having difficult time communicating. It was always just fight, and it would turn into abusive texts and conversations over the phone because he could no longer hurt me physically, but verbally he would just so I got to a point where I wanted to put my 5-year-old for an adoption. Not 5-year-old, he was younger then. And I was like, I'm just not going to deal with it. I am absolutely not going to put up with this verbal abuse. So I reached out to my counselor, my friends, everyone else, and I was like, I'm done with it. So what's the best way to deal with it? And they were all saying, oh, you will be a terrible mother if you put your son for an adoption. That's not an option. You should not put, and I was like, that's not the answer I'm looking for. That's not the answer. I need a better answer. So obviously I'm a research junkie. I got into a ton of research about how to communicate with difficult people. So then I figured out that what the PTSD really is, it creates the fight and flight mode in people. And my ex obviously suffered from PTSD. He was ex-army, military, and then I sat down to analyze him and our conversations as to every time, what did I say that triggered that kind of abuse, verbal abuse? What did I say and what did I do and what was the subject? So, and his triggers, what were his triggers? Then I realized my shortfalls, my drawbacks as to what I was doing, because I was not communicating with him appropriately in a way that what happens when someone has done something so terrible to you, almost killed you, you lose respect for that person. And whenever you communicate, the emotions do come up. And it aggravates the smallest thing. So then I realized that I need to respect him. I have to respect him as a person. I have to treat him with respect. Not that I was abusing him, but still I was not, obviously.
You're not showing him some consideration?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I started developing the respect for him as a person. And I remembered what my dad said to me one day: you should not get upset with the person. but you can get upset with their actions.
Correct.
So because when you get upset with the person, you lose the sight of any good they might have. So, and everyone deserves respect no matter what they've done, what their actions have been. So remembering that and analyzing what are his trigger points, I decided to develop a totally different way of communication with him. And instead of saying, oh, you need to spend more time with your son, he's your child too, he's not just my responsibility, I totally turned the communication around. First of all, I showed him respect, despite of no matter what he did, and understanding that he has PTSD, so never raising my voice, ever, in the conversation, because any raised voice can trigger the fight or flight, and then the person forgets whether it's the enemy in the war field or it's the ex-wife or the wife or whoever. It's the same. So they become defensive immediately or offensive. So I decided to just keep a conversation very respectful, and so it just turned, the entire thing turned around so amazingly that now we have incredible conversation. We can actually laugh over the phone, having a conversation. And he, one of his patents got approved, and he called me and he said, oh my gosh, look what I did. And you were the first person I wanted to call and tell. And he is so much involved with our son's life now. He went on the field trip with him. He is telling me as to what we should be doing so our son can do better. Okay, so the conversation turned totally around, understanding my drawbacks, understanding his triggers and who he is, and extending the respect he deserves as a person. Okay. So that's also we teach, and there are so many ways NLP can help people with the communication. Yeah.
Excellent. So what is, let me ask you this, so you say you have some event for your foundation, you mentioned that you have some event coming up?
Yes, we have a fashion show, fundraiser, gala event on January the 25th. And I'm a fashion designer.
Oh, okay.
So I had my fashion business before, and I'm re-establishing myself as a fashion designer again. Okay. And it's my dream to have a successful fashion business again. And I'm putting up a collection together, and we have the sponsors, Your Cart, Caroline. Your Cart. It's a Caroline Chisanga. She is our sponsor for the fashion show. Okay. Yeah, so she's a wonderful, wonderful person, and she's going to be our ambassador of the year. Okay. So on our website and marketing and whatnot. So. Okay.
How many people work with you in the foundation so far?
I have a team of. We have the marketing person, we have the graphic designer, we have the event planner, board of advisors, and we are under United Charitable Programs. Okay. So they are our mother organization. Okay. So we are one of their programs now until we get our own 501c3.
Got it. And where are you guys located?
We are physical addresses in Burke. Okay. But usually events happen anywhere from McLean to Maryland to DC, everywhere.
Gotcha. Yeah. What are your goals in the future? Have you set any future goal? Next year, next 5 years, what have you?
Yes, absolutely. My goal is to create strong individuals, basically emotionally healthy people, so they can actually have healthy relationships So we also teach men how to communicate with women, because men and women are definitely different.
Men are from Mars and women are from Venus, is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So we not only teach all of these other things, how to deal with the trauma and addiction and pain and whatnot, but we also teach how to communicate, teach men how to communicate with women, and women how to communicate with men, to have a healthy relationship. And that's what our goal is. To that's the way to eliminate the domestic violence or the abuse. Actually, a friend of mine yesterday said, so what I'm understanding is that you are not just treating the leaves, you are treating the root. So I was like, that's a good way to put it. We are actually treating from the root. So the goal is to help people live a great life to their full potential, be happy, successful. Everyone deserves that, and go national. Teach our programs nationally, and then eventually in the next 2 to 3 years go national with our programs, and eventually go international, because our programs that we have, they transform the person from inside out. And there is, I think, need for it all over the world.
Sure. How do people find out about you or your organization? How do you get to find those people who need your service or your help?
Right now, since we just established, we will be reaching out to the domestic violence shelters, and the churches, and through the events that we will be conducting, through the seminars. We have our seminar coming up on February the 7th and the 8th. It's a 2-day seminar, 6 hours, and guaranteed once people finish, after they're done with the seminar, when they walk out, their lives will change completely. They will know where they were, where they are, and where they want to be, and where they can be with their full potential. So it's going to be very powerful. It's called the empowering of the mind. So.
Very good. I just have one last question. You mentioned that this can be also hereditary as an issue, coming from generation to generation, hereditary. How do you address that hereditary aspect of it?
It's, first of all, the realization. Most people don't even realize it. It becomes the second nature. It becomes normal. And when you grow up with something, when your mom tells you, or when you see something, it becomes normal. It's nothing extraordinary. You stop paying attention to it. But when you help the person realize that it's not normal, it doesn't have to go to your daughter. I met this woman. She was not only raped, but then got into an abusive relationship with her husband, had a daughter, got out of the relationship, fighting with severe depression, and I had the opportunity to speak with her. And she's extremely concerned constantly about her daughter being
going through the same thing?
The same thing. And she said her mom was in the similar situation.
Oh, I guess,
So how to deal with that is just, first of all, realizing that, why it happened. It was, the mom was worried about the daughter, and what we focus on, we pass on to it. It does happen. Whatever we focus on is, if you focus on, for example, whatever you like, abuse or happiness or just changing the mindset, just understanding, okay, abuse happened to me. It happened because it happened to my mom, and my mom was worried about it happening to me, and subconsciously I got into, because of what I witnessed, I got into an abusive relationship. But now that I know, I can teach my child what are the red flags.
Okay.
I can teach my child, instead of constantly worrying that, just paranoid, that, this person will do that, this person might do this to my daughter. Instead of being constantly paranoid, teach your child the skills, and teach your child, not constantly push this onto your child that, this happened to me, might happen to you, so be careful. Don't fill that child with the message constantly.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We're coming close to the end over here.
Yeah. Thank you, Basil. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. And I hope to see you on January the 25th.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
This program was brought to you by Organo Gold. Organo Gold is a health and wellness company that provides healthy coffees, teas, and chocolate. All one has to do is consume the available products to get all the available benefits. One can also share these products with others to help them improve their health as well. For more information, call 703-359-5642 or visit the website basillemba.com.